Okay, picture this. Your whole life is about to be turned upside down. You're facing an imminent eviction, maybe a really complex custody battle, or a sudden loss of vital medical benefits. Your home, your family, basically your very livelihood are all on the line. Well, welcome to our explainer on navigating the free civil legal aid system in Ohio. Whether you're a complete novice to the legal system or you're a social worker trying to guide someone in need, we are going to break down exactly how this crucial safety net operates. Now, if you're sitting there wondering if the state has to provide you with an attorney when you go to court, the answer might actually surprise you. Because, let's be real, for a lot of us, our entire understanding of the legal system comes straight from television procedurals where everyone gets a lawyer no matter what. But the reality of the courtroom is starkly different depending on the specific type of case you're facing. In America, you absolutely have a constitutionally guaranteed right to counsel in criminal cases, meaning if your freedom is at stake and you can't afford an attorney, the court will appoint a public defender for you. But in civil matters, we're talking things like divorce, foreclosure, consumer debt, or getting a restraining order against an abuser, you don't have that same right. In civil court, if you can't afford to hire an attorney, you are entirely on your own. So today, we're going to walk through this system step by step. We'll quickly cover 1. The justice gap, 2. Who qualifies, 3. Civil cases covered, 4. The application steps, and 5. Some really important disclaimers. Let's start right in with Section 1, the civil justice gap. The Legal Services Corporation recently published a justice gap report, and they revealed a truly staggering number, 92%. That means 92% of civil legal problems experienced by low-income Americans receive little to no legal help. Just think about that for a second. Nearly every single civil legal issue faced by someone living in or near poverty goes completely unrepresented, creating this massive justice gap where the legal system just becomes totally out of reach for the most vulnerable people. And a huge reason for this gap comes right down to funding. One of the primary sources for legal aid in Ohio is called IOLTA, which stands for Interest on Lawyers' Trust Accounts. Well, the revenue from that source took a massive plunge, dropping from over $22 million in 2007 down to just $3.8 million in 2013. That is literally a 90% drop in critical funding, directly impacting the resources available to help low-income Ohioans. Because of those devastating financial barriers, legal aid offices have faced some really severe staff reductions. The total number of legal aid attorneys across Ohio actually dropped from 346 down to 226 in just a few years. When funding vanishes, attorneys lose their jobs, offices in places like Mansfield and Marietta are forced to close their doors, and travel times to reach an attorney drastically increase for folks living in rural areas. All of this directly impacts how many Ohioans these organizations can actually help. Moving on to Section 2. Who exactly qualifies for this free help? The primary financial threshold to qualify for civil legal aid is making at or below 125% of the federal poverty level. To put that into real-world terms, for a family of 4, 125% of the federal poverty level is roughly $37,500 in annual income. Now, depending on specific grant funding, some individual organizations might occasionally extend their services up to 200% of the poverty level, but 125% is your standard baseline used to screen applicants. That brings us to Section 3, the actual civil cases legal aid handles. Once an applicant's financial eligibility is met, legal aid has to prioritize specific types of civil cases. Federal regulations actually prohibit the use of federal funds for certain things, like criminal matters, most immigration cases, or fee-generating personal injury lawsuits. Instead, they focus heavily on critical emergencies involving basic human needs. These priorities generally fall into housing, family, employment, and veteran issues. Housing instability, for instance, is a massive priority. Tenants facing eviction in Ohio municipal courts often have as few as 28 days from the service of notice to answer and appear. So legal aid steps in to prevent homelessness, secure domestic violence protective orders, or assist with sealing criminal records so individuals can secure employment. There's also this incredible specialized focus on our military personnel and veterans. The Ohio Attorney General's office runs the Patriot Program, which recruits volunteer attorneys to help active duty service members enforce their rights. This means helping deployed military personnel legally cancel residential leases or cell phone contracts under the Service Members Civil Relief Act. They also offer pro bono drafting for basic estate planning, things like simple wills and healthcare powers of attorney. It is also absolutely crucial to understand that if you do qualify, the help comes in different forms. Sometimes you get what's called extended service, which means full ongoing courtroom representation by a staff attorney.
But often, just to stretch those limited resources we talked about, organizations provide limited scope assistance, which is sometimes called unbundled services. This might just be brief legal coaching, answering some questions at a drop-in clinic, or helping you correctly prepare your own documents so you can represent yourself.
Okay, Section 4. How to actually find help and navigate the application process. If you or maybe someone you know is facing one of these civil crises and meets the financial criteria, your journey should almost always start by visiting ohiolegalhelp.org. It's an incredible state-supported platform that uses automated decision trees to assess your specific issue and direct you straight to the correct local provider. From there, you'll complete a strict financial screening and a conflict of interest check. Finally, if your case meets their priority guidelines, you wait for an assignment to a staff attorney or a referral to a volunteer pro bono lawyer through a local bar association. But what if you don't qualify, or your case just isn't accepted? Don't panic because you still have vital alternative options. Many municipal courts now have self-help centers to provide you with basic procedural information. There are also really cool pop-up clinics like the Justice Bus that actually travels to public libraries for walk-in brief advice. And hey, if you make too much money for legal aid, local bar associations run lawyer referral services that can connect you with an attorney for an initial consultation that usually costs under $50. Finally, Section 5, limitations and important disclaimers. As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to set some realistic expectations. Because while this network is an absolute lifeline, it isn't perfect. The crucial point you need to take away is this: simply applying for legal aid does not guarantee representation. Remember that staggering funding drop we discussed earlier? Well, because of those severe resource limitations, the Access to Justice Task Force found that legal aid literally has to turn away approximately 3 people for every 1 person they are able to serve. It's a truly heartbreaking reality of the system right now. Also, and this is so important because desperate people are looking for help, scammers have unfortunately moved in. Organizations like Advocates for Basic Legal Equality and Legal Aid of Western Ohio have issued some really stern warnings about this. Please be vigilant here. Legitimate legal aid intake specialists will absolutely never ask you for a credit card, bank access, or any form of payment whatsoever. These services are free for eligible individuals. If someone claiming to be from legal aid asks for your payment info, hang up immediately and report them to the Ohio Attorney General. Please remember that this explainer is strictly for educational purposes and definitely does not constitute formal legal advice. You can start your own journey today at ohiolegalhelp.org. But as we leave you today, I want you to consider this one thing. If 92% of our most vulnerable neighbors are currently facing the complexities of the legal system completely alone, what does that really mean for the fundamental promise of justice for all? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.